Hey there. This is Zach. Feel free to argue. And I wanted to make a response video for you, K-Lust. Because I just saw your video about losing hope, and certainly I've had my down moments. Just watching the videos that I make and the stuff that I talk about, people are probably thinking I'm like Mel Gibson. I got a gun in my mouth every morning saying, "Is this the day?" But I'm not, actually. I do get down. I do get depressed. I do think sometimes that it's hopeless. But generally speaking, I don't feel that way. And I think there are a bunch of reasons that I feel that way. I'm going to do a video later that's going to end up bearing this, but this is really for you. It's not for everybody. I was reading in, Adbusters this morning, which is a great magazine. I'm going to be reading an article from it later in another video that I'm going to be doing after this one. But they did these profiles for like the different age groups, and it's based on something that Zogby is coming out with, which is called The Way Will Be, the Zogby Report on the Transformation of the American Dream. And Zogby's actually a very smart guy in terms of like analyzing and recognizing trends. And this is what he says about people in kind of your generational range, which he calls the first globals as a group. The first globals exhibit a rare dichotomy not seen in other groups. They are maturing in an era of unprecedented worldwide advertising. They are the most marketed generation in history, which is having a huge effect on their psyches. But while first globals covet things and obsess over image, they also embodied an unparalleled sense of internationalism and a unique empathy. They are products of globalization, and this has given them a sense of understanding of and interest in other cultures. They are concerned about human rights and the environment. They'll likely want to know the origins of the items they purchase and want assurance that they were produced under humane conditions. Although the first globals are willing peons of marketers, they are ushering in a new approach to consumerism and politics. The world of the first globals is international and interconnected, and because of their eager interest in fostering a global community, this group is poised to bring about real change. And there are other things that make me hopeful about the future. I mean, aside from the fact that I see these tendencies that Zogby is talking about in people that are mostly younger than me. Some people who are my age, and certainly a few people who are older. I mean, there are people with hearts and eyes to see who are all ages. But I would say that they're concentrated further down the ages as you go. I think people are starting to see through a lot of the illusions that are there. And if they're not all subscribed to your channel, and if there are a lot of people subscribed to other channels that really bug you and you think are spreading disinformation, then I wouldn't get too upset about that. Because, I mean, if we're going to go through hard times, and I do think we're going to go through terrible, awful hard times, and I'm not sure how soon it's going to start, but it's going to start pretty darn soon here. Already started for some people, certainly. I think that will clear away a lot of cobwebs. And honestly, the worse it is, the more cobwebs that are going to get cleared away. The more understanding we're going to get as a nation about how things really are, what the power systems are like, how economies really work. I mean, until they're forced to understand these things, until they have the time because, I don't know, they're stuck in a FEMA camp or they're unemployed or whatever, but until they have the time to get off the treadmill and really feel compelled to like learn this stuff, they're not going to. They're not going to. I mean, some of us are. Some of us do it because congenitally that's the way we are. Some people are just like seeing things and they're bothered by it and they're starting to put pieces together. But go ahead and just keep making your arguments. That's what I say. I mean, I think a lot of this is about raising awareness. And yes, there's a certain element of preaching to the choir, and probably in a lot of the people. But I mean, there are a couple of things that happen, even when you're preaching to the choir. First of all, I mean, maybe you do something really powerful, really momentous, someone shares it, and that reaches somebody who it wouldn't have reached otherwise. That in addition to the fact that, like, there's not any one of us, I think, here on YouTube, certainly, who has all the answers. Nobody on earth has all the answers. And so I think as we each kind of struggle to try to find out what the answers are, each of us has like a little piece of the puzzle. And all of us working together in the internet, the web, can find and synthesize a new reality, a new understanding of the world. And I think that's all very powerful and very exciting. And, excuse me, I think it's easy to get disheartened because there are very powerful forces working against reasonable, rational people. Our government is incredibly corrupt. Our institutions are not serving us. But it's all working to, like, you know, hide reality from the American people. So why is it working so hard to hide reality from the American people? Well, this is something Jeremy Scahill actually talks about, and he says, you know what? Because the American people, when you get right down to it, are actually kind of essentially decent. And the people in power know that if there's widespread understanding of how corrupt we are as a nation, that people will rightfully get upset about that. But I mean, it would be okay for the corruption to be completely out in the open and no one would deny it if they weren't afraid of us. But they are afraid of us. And I think that's because we can make this country what we want it to be. And if enough of us wake up, that's just what's going to happen. And so I figure it will either come there by education, but more likely it'll come there by disaster. There will be disaster, and we'll look around, and all of a sudden, you know, no amount of, like, you know, television or movies or anything is going to hide the fact that we've been living a lie. And then people like you and like me, who maybe, you know, our friends have been snickering at, and people are like saying, oh, well, you know, there goes those crazies. They always think the world's about to end. Well, you know, all of a sudden they're going to say, well, the only person who said anything that really makes sense anymore is that crazy person. Maybe we're going to start listening to them a little bit more. So, live for that day. Live for that. Live for the future. Live for the fact that at some point, everything's going to become evident. And then we'll see the character of the nation. And hopefully that'll be a good thing. But take heart. You're on the right side. You're doing the right thing. Feel good about who you are and what you're doing. And, get better too. Take care. That's all for now.